Hello, mic check. Good morning. I welcome you again to the second and last day of the conference, Empowering Science and Technology with Women, a Step Towards a New Era. The first theme of the day is AI, IoT, and applications, which will be chaired by Professor Richa Singh. Let me introduce Professor Singh to all of you. Professor Richa Singh has received her PhD degree in computer science from West Virginia University, USA in 2008. She is currently a professor and head of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at IIT Jodhpur. Her areas of interest are pattern recognition, machine learning, and biometrics. She is also a fellow of IEEE and IAPR and a senior member of ACM. She is the recipient of the FAST Award by the Department of Science and Technology, India, and several Best Paper and Poster Awards in international conferences. She has served as the program co-chair and general co-chair of several conferences and is currently serving as the program chair of CVPR 2022 and ICMI 2022. She is also the vice president publications of the IEEE Biometrics Council and an associate editor-in-chief of pattern recognition and area associate editor of several other journals. I request Professor Singh to chair the first session of the day on theme 5, AI, IoT, and applications.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for that very detailed introduction. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to chair this session with such distinguished speakers in the session today. So let me take this privilege to introduce the first speaker of the day, Dr. Lipika Day. She's the chief scientist in TCS Research and Innovation Lab and heads the Analytics and Insight Practices Group. Dr. Day holds PhD in Computer Science and Engineering from IIT Kharagpur. Her research interests are in the areas of NLP, text and data mining, machine learning, and semantic search. She's a fellow of the Indian National Academy of Engineering, and prior to joining the industry, she was a faculty member at IIT Delhi. She has several publications in international journals and refereed conferences, and she's also serving in a leadership role with ACM Women in Computing to encourage women students and researchers in computing. Something apart from technical, she's an avid writer and an amazing photographer. If you follow her Facebook, please see she's an amazing photographer and you can look at her photographs. And we're honored to have Dr. Day as a visiting faculty also in the Department of Computer Science at IIT Jodhpur. So Dr. Day, thank you so much for accepting the invitation to be a speaker here, and we look forward to a wonderful talk today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Richa, for that kind introduction. Thanks to the organizers for inviting me to be here today. So the theme I chose for today's talk, as you can see, keys to a sustainable future, lie with women in STEM. Hello. Hello. You can hear me? Yeah. Okay. So in fact, I had chosen the title even before seeing Dr. Ritu's title, the way she chose, that actually the keys lie with women for a sustainable future. And to begin with, we should change the height of the rostrums, which are very specifically designed for tall males and not for average females also, leave alone me. Okay, so that's what we should do. What I will do today for the talk is, I'll first speak about what is my work, my area, and that will lead naturally to the topic of sustainability. And then I want to talk about what roles we women have to play in a sustainable future, particularly women in STEM. So what I do, my area is natural language processing, which essentially means making sense of text, natural language text, that is there everywhere, particularly today in the digital world, where each one of us are producing a lot of text in social media, in content that we write, emails, wherever. And that is being also consumed by the organizations in order to know their consumers, know their clients, know their partners, and in general know about the world. While it is easy for us to read a text and make sense of it without understanding each and every word, or rather putting every word in every other word's context, we can get the meaning. It's an incredibly hard task for the computers to make sense of it. But given that there is so much of text all around and everyone wants to know what is written in that, there is no other way but automated processing. So that is what natural language understanding or processing, the area is about. Here are 4 different groups of text that I have said we work on. The whole idea being analyze, predict what is going to happen, which is naturally predictive analytics with a lot of data, only that I'm talking with text data additionally. If you can predict what is going to happen, can you preempt that? That is obviously the idea of prediction, particularly when you are predicting events which are negative. Can you preempt a customer project from going wrong? Can you identify the precise step from communications that this is where something is going to go wrong? Can we preempt it? And then can we also prescribe what is to be done? That is what is prescriptive analysis. Now, this whole thing, when we do it in an automated framework, that is what is natural language understanding driven decision making. So that's what I do most of the time. Now let me come back to the part that we are currently working on, is to analyze sustainability reports that are generated by companies, mandatorily to be submitted in most of the cases. Now, before we go into those, a brief overview of the goals as they are called, sustainability goals. And each one of them have a description. And the description that I picked up is the one which is the 5th one, which actually talks about gender equality, and which is now a mission for all the organizations to achieve it. That's a measure of how sustainable they are. Now, quickly, what is it that we do in the space, particularly my group? So first of all, we have various organizations with whom we work. In turn, they work with various other customers, clients, partners, whatever, and everybody has to submit these sustainability reports. And from that, there is something that is calculated called a ESG score, Environment, Social, Governance score, based on what kind of activities they are doing in each parameter that comes under environment. Say, like, what is a company doing for the sake of climate? What is it doing for biodiversity? Areas that come under social, like gender equality. Areas that come under governance. Are there practices to stop fraud inherently within an organization? Are there processes to stop it? So there are all these various goals, various parameters, and on each parameter, a company has to provide a detailed report on numbers, and in many cases, these are not numbers, but steps that they are taking. So that's where text comes in. Now, automatically reading all of this, is it possible to come up with a score? So the company is now, say, 49% compliant, which is very low. It has to move to 75% compliance next year. Because after all, we can only comprehend all of these things if it comes down to one value. So that's our major task, reading all of these data acquisition from multiple sources. It is not just one report. There are also news coming up about different activities that are happening, as a result of which the company may be implicated in certain things and so on. So a mining company, you see, often has all these reports coming out about how they are spoiling biodiversity. Then the company says, no, we are doing this, and so on. All of these will, go into generating that one score. So that's broadly the task. So recently, the group that we are working in has built a product, and that is actually now going into production mode with National University of Singapore, taking it. Singapore government is very strict about following the companies over there. So they are going to use this particular product to track the activities, come up with the score for the companies in Singapore. So broadly, that is what we do. A glimpse of the software on the top provides a complete 360-degree ESG view with AI-powered data acquisition, analysis, and scoring mechanism at the back end. So I don't think I'll go into the details of what is being done over here, but why is it a difficult problem as such? So this is a glimpse of a report. So reports are actually very prettily formatted, and you understand the reason for it. When it is very prettily formatted, it's very difficult to make sense of the content that is written inside. They can be very verbally stated something which actually means nothing. So all of these are also tricks that organizations play in order to survive. And then there are these boxes. So the formats are very complex. So first of all, to identify the relevant text, then make sense of it. They are very long texts, and what is it that has happened is earlier the units or say for example a person in NUS sitting and reading a company report, at least an expert would have to spend 3 days per report to come up with that score for a company. So what is our software doing? It's bringing down the time frame to 30 minutes per company's score. 30 minutes includes all the acquisition of the reports, etc. Plus, we have kept a validation step right now in order to do some checks and double checks. And wherever there's a low confidence score, then a manual validation. So all of it takes 30 minutes. So that's the productivity improvement. And also chances of omissions and commissions are less when we are doing it in an automated way. This is where actually the complications come. So here is a page on, if the question asked is, what is the percentage of women in workforce at the end of 2021? That's a very sharp question. The need is to pick up the value from this company's report and put it. The required target is 50% by 2030. Right now, it has to at least move from 2020 to 21 and so on. So here is an example of where the complexity lies. If you look at the first paragraph, the system may pick up by the basis of keywords, etc., but that's actually an irrelevant paragraph. The second paragraph, the first line, is the relevant one. So it's not as if you can just pick up the percentages by looking at the neighborhoods, etc. So that's a lot of machine learning that goes behind it to identify what is relevant, what is irrelevant, and what is the actual value to be picked up. This is the more interesting part. This is a report, a page of a report from another company who has put a big title called Greater Equity, etc. If you read this full page, there is nothing about what they are actually doing. It's more about we are committed, etc., etc., etc. So our system has to be smart enough to say that this is 0. The number for this company is actually 0, whereas the number for the earlier company was 29.5% currently, and not reach the 50% projected for 2030. So that's a whole lot of machine learning problem. We have some very good deep learning models nowadays available for doing all kinds of tricks on text. We also use those. I'm not going into the details of it. And finally, our results are measured in terms of recall precision, how many correct values we are picking up, how many values altogether we are able to pick up, how many of it we are not. And we are nowhere close to 100% accurate. So we have to devise these systems which will be kind of human in the loop, where we report the results with confidence values, and minimal human intervention can generate these scores. Above, you can see these are the gross, you can say the text and the analytics related questions that the system is supposed to be addressing. With that, I would sort of switch to a different topic, I would say, or rather, my interest in this particular area. So when we started working with this group who is building this system, that's when I first had my brush with the sustainability goals, agenda, etc. for last 3 years. And then as we go along, there are various implications of these sustainability goals, scoring, etc. that are revealed. So here is what we came to know. Why is this an important problem? So ESG scores drive the investment that a company is going to receive today. And these are documented analytical results that a company which does poorly on sustainability goals is known to suffer to up to 6% in their stock values over a certain period of time whenever some negative events about them are reported. So everyone is taking it quite seriously. ESG managed assets are valued at $23 trillion only in 2021. And it's going to only go up because even India is going to make it mandatory for companies to submit their sustainability records. And here is the opportunity that is also coming up. And again, I don't have the hard data today, but this is what is proved, that women are leading the ESG units at the firms, various banking firms, and the units which are led by women are actually seeing more profit. So this is where now, coming to it, women are leading the ESG units. What does it mean? Is it that they are heading just the data reporting center, or is it that they are actually heading the activities that should be carried on in an organization in order for the organization to become more sustainable? And if we look at it from that angle, it is not only that there is a more emphasis on this equal distribution, gender equity to be reached in the companies because they have to remain profitable. It is also that their functioning has to change in order to remain profitable, because it is not just about reporting numbers. It has to be also correct numbers. And that is where what I find a lot of activities are designed so that, or women have to design so that the numbers behind them also appear to be correct and not just fudged numbers. So that's how now I just go into what is it that is there for women in STEM to do in order to make this world more sustainable. It is not just about making my organization more sustainable. What we need, of course, is more people in STEM, more people in leadership. That's what we had discussed yesterday. And here is some data which we always knew that India actually doesn't have a dearth of women in engineering education, particularly not in our area, computer science, which is supposed to be a safe area for women to work. So if you compare the data with US, UK, we actually do much better. So we have about 43% women already in these areas. However, so that's a good news that we don't have to do a lot to bring in more people into the STEM education and workforce. The bad news, as we discussed yesterday, that not too many are actually in the decision-making roles. So we have, of so many people who are coming in, only 14% who are scientists, engineers, technologists in research labs, higher education, etc. So now that's, if people are not in research and innovation, then they cannot provide the ideas of what is to be done for a better future. So that is where we really need to do a lot of work. And these statistics we have actually discussed. Why no women director? Because obviously very few faculty are women. And then this is something very interesting. IIT Delhi, I think this statistics was 2020 or 21, when it had 23.5% women as associate professors, it went drastically down at professor level. So that means the pyramid is becoming very easily visible. So what is the consequence? The consequence, obviously, or this is called a leaky pipeline, that though we have equal numbers, we have very few representations at the top. And that means fewer women than men are deciding research agenda, fewer women and more men are designing STEM curricula. Very few women are actually designing technology adoption principles, and not many women are taking part in design of products and processes. And this is global truth, not just for India. This is global truth. I give you the numbers for India. And what happens is, because we are moving more towards a data-driven world. So what is the data that is coming out? The data is actually coming from the predominantly male-dominated STEM world. And we are designing systems using that data, which is only supporting, or which will only support the similar kind of decisions that were taken in the past to be taken in the future. So that is an area which we have to be very cautious. And in recent times, there's a lot of work initiated by AI scientists in detecting these bias in the data before actually blindly believing the data-driven systems. So we have a role to look at whether the data that is, or decisions that are coming out is biased, what to do in order to change those decisions. So these are all real examples. AI model created from data to shortlist candidates. Only will shortlist white males. This is from Amazon. So this is what we have. So legacy has to be manually broken. I'll just, I have 5 minutes. Okay, so I'll try to wind up. So this is, these are some questions. What happens when it is only a male-driven society for designing, male STEMs who are designing? So we have cell phones which do not fit our hands. We have airbags in cars which are designed only for males. Office chairs are not designed. Textbooks have more male icons. I think we have discussed it yesterday. We have women and medical research. You can go through this book. It's an eye-opener how many medical experiments have been conducted with 0 women in the subject list. Now, what happens is the medicines that come up or are devised or are targeted are not designed for women. And that's a gross mistake. So now we need more women in these design places, grant people who are actually giving the grants to ensure. And it's in US, only in 2016, it became mandated that there has to be female subjects before doing these experiments. Here is an example, a famous example of the language bias that goes out, and this is yesterday's result. So this is what happens when you give wo astronaut hai, Google says he is an astronaut, but when you give wo nurse hai, it says she's a nurse and she's a secretary and so on. So bias is there everywhere. Now, just last point. So what can we do about it? We, the researchers, we, the people who are going to lead, we also have to take care that not only there is equity, just not in numbers of people, but number of women in decision making, to make sure that the problems of women are addressed, and not that we just work on the problems designed by the males the way it was designed by the males earlier. So here is also a lot of work that is going on, particularly, as I said, US, UK, to see why are women not interested? Is there something that can be done about the curriculum? And that is where a lot of survey, these are not India results, we should do such survey in India also to find out what attracts females. These are some examples which says that men students like to be, they are more motivated by agentic goals. So they like competitions, hackathons, and so on, focused learning, abstract learning. Women there have showed that they are more motivated by communal goals. Many people said, what do you want to do with your education? I want to do something for the social good. So the education style, the experimental style, the way assignments are given, designed, everything may need a change even in Indian context when we are imparting STEM education. It is not just about textbooks showing more female models, etc. The entire activity may need a change. And the disastrous classroom experiences, we were also talking about, why do women not progress forward? Why don't they stick their neck out for decision-making roles? Decision-making roles are also not easy. It means a lot of hassle also for the person. It may be the disastrous and unexciting classroom experiences are responsible why they are also not confident enough to take up the decision-making roles. So these are some of the interventions that have been practiced, not any one single thing. It doesn't mean you change the curriculum for males and females. It's just the way things are done that can be changed. So grossly, my message would be that when we are walking towards a sustainable future, we have the opportunity and responsibility to take more decision-making roles and actually encourage the world, not just the women, encourage the world to solve women's problems or solve the world's problems thinking like a woman and not fitting ourselves to a man's world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Day, for such an enlightening and wonderful talk. There were so many anecdotes that you gave, and I could very much relate to it. Small cell phones, right? When I was looking for a new phone, I used to have iPhone 5, right? You know the size of iPhone 5. And I had to spend months for looking for a phone which could fit my hands, right? And Dias, you already know. Right. So I could very much relate to so many of the anecdotes that you gave, and I fully agree with that. So with that, the floor is open to questions. Yes, sir. Can we have a mic?
Percentages was lower. How do you see the corporate world? What is the CXO C-level kind of female representation or women representation there?
So corporate world also, as you know, it's not very good. However, there's an interesting percentage now as the entrepreneurs who are having their own setups coming up. And right now, what I can say is the corporate world has woken up earlier to this requirement to actually fit the numbers. So they are doing a lot. I can see it in my own organization for last 4 to maybe 5 years, we have had a lot of programs which are actively helping women to take managerial training, senior managerial training, opening up, ensuring transparency. So one of the key things that was held please have a seat, held responsible earlier for women not progressing is the men's network. Going out for a beer at the end of the day and actually, coming to know of open positions through it, hiring friends for those positions, typically things that used to happen, not for anyone's fault. That was the culture. Women wanted to go back home and not really network beyond the times. So obviously technology is a big equalizer. It has been enforced that everything has to come out in the open. It's sent as mass mailers, everything. And now it's for the women to stick their necks out. That's what we say. So there's training, there is transparency, there's information available about what are the opportunities. And there is, of course, a positive push to fit the numbers. So that's why I also feel it's a very good time. Sorry.
No, thank you. I just wanted to know, because tech industry has been a trailblazer for in the last 20 years in terms of it has set the agenda for the corporate world in India. But I think one of the things I'm just saying, because I used to cover technology for a long time when I was in Bangalore, but we haven't seen a pro kind of women or something like that from the industry where we haven't seen that in the last.
I absolutely agree with you. Though, and in fact, though we are the ones who actually had a lot of this pyramidal structure. And again, if I go back to these studies now, we never had those studies earlier, that why are women not coming up to actually these positions? Why are they not taking these responsibilities? Now, possibly we can go back and see that, it's partially, and I have had it even from Professor Ram Gopal Rao. Last week we were in a seminar where he said that I have seen women who are very good, but they don't have half the confidence of a man who is not half as good as her to come up and say, I can do this job. So that's where we need to be confident. But we also need grooming of the women and encouraging them to come up and actually see that I am fit for the role.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Dr. Sufia Khan, and thank you so much for your stimulating and motivating talk. It ignites our mind. It binds us to say so much thank you to you, because you have raised so much of the valid questions over here. So I am professor in the university as well as the CEO and founder of the Dumplings spin-out company. So I want to one suggestion from you, because we are at the mid-career stage. And we are in the interface on the science as well as in the entrepreneurship. We face a lot of things, and the next 20 to 25 years career is ahead of us. So what your lessons to us, for the female like us, to be on the, what's the key lesson you would like to give us, like one or two things in it's just a motivation or your key lessons, what things we should keep in our mind for our life, for our career, for the betterment of our life.
Okay, as women, I think you have crossed the most difficult step, which is the first step, from lower to middle, because that's when women are saddled with home responsibilities, children, marriage, etc., etc. So when we cross that, if we can stick there, we have, crossed the main barrier. Now it is, I would also like to say, which I say always, that see, after that, it's an equal world. There is nothing like anything will be given to you on a platter as a woman, and we better accept it. After that, it's a matter of playing in a level field, and that's what we should all do. We should see, it's a woman doesn't mean you also have to do everything alone. Pick your partners who can do the job. If there is a man who can do a better job of talking to the clients, etc., partner. We should be equal partners. And I think accepting the equality in our minds is the first step, that we are equals. I may have a different responsibility, you may have a different responsibility, same as in the world outside as home. That's all that how we should go. Initial few years, it is more difficult. You just have to stick to it. And you have to solve your problems. No one will solve your problems. So no one will fight with your mother-in-law on behalf of you to allow you to go for a job. So All those things you have to do yourself. I can't counsel on that. But I can just say that if you stick around, be professional, be passionate. Be professional is also a keyword. I can't come to work and say that, sorry, my child is sick today, I have to go back, however much work it is. You decide how you will work. You can take the work back home with you. You can put your child in a child care, call your friend, do whatever you want to. I have done all of it to stick around. That's all.
No, that's it. Thank you so much, Dr. Day. Thank you so much. So with that wonderful talk from Dr. Day, let's go to the second speaker of the day. And second speaker is Dr. Shreeper Nasa. She's an associate professor and head of the computer science department at IIT Patna. She's a highly accomplished researcher in the area of natural language understanding with a couple of 100 papers to her credit. And I'm honored to be in her friends list in LinkedIn and Facebook. And every other week, I get a notification, paper accepted in one of the top venues. I don't know how you do that, Shiparna. Dr. Saha has received several awards, including Sir Women in Excellence Award and Sir Worley Career Research Award, Duo India Fellowship, Humboldt Research Fellowship. These are just to name a few, and the list is long. She's also on the editorial board of several different journals, such as IEEE Transactions on Computational Social Systems and IEEE Transactions on Computational Biology and Bioinformatics. So with that, thank you so much, Dr. Saha, for agreeing to visit us in this workshop and interact with the participants. Looking forward to your lecture.
Yeah. Many thanks, Dr. Ritu, and all the organizers, and Professor Richa for this nice introduction and inviting me in this occasion. So my talk is a little bit technical. I will not talk about the women in science or women in engineering. So I will mainly talk about my research areas, my recent research areas, which is a kind of new, called the multimodal information processing. So I will first briefly introduce this particular term. What do we mean by multimodal information processing? And then, as mentioned by Professor Richa, my recent research areas are natural language processing. So I will show you how multimodal information can help in improving the accuracies of different tasks which are associated with natural language processing. So, so let me just introduce what do we mean by multimodality. So you know that whenever we have to take a decision of a particular object, we used to use multiple sensors. Like we are touching the object, we are testing the the test, then we are seeing the object. So we are utilizing multiple sensors to collect the information, and then somehow we are consolidating the information collected by multiple sensors, and then finally taking a decision. So similarly, in computer system also we can do the same. Like instead of only relying on the text data, or instead of only relying on the image data, can you somehow consolidate information collected from multiple modalities and then taking a decision? So there are very good examples of this in natural language processing. One is called the emotion recognition. So you know, to understand what is the current emotion of a particular person. So there is a dialogue going on. So two persons are chatting, and we need to understand automatically what is the emotion of a particular person. So in that case, if you only see the utterance, what the person is saying, then maybe you will not be able to correctly understand the emotion. But if you see the facial expressions or the eye movements, so or the audio tones, then maybe those will be additional clues, and based on that, your prediction would be accurate. So this is basically called the multimodal emotion recognition, where you are not only seeing the facial expressions, audio signals, or also the textual representation of the utterances, and then taking a decision. Similarly, you know, in social media, we are nowadays regularly using the social media platforms, and we are not only uploading the text, but sometimes the images or the videos in Twitter or in Facebook or in Instagram, etc. So especially think about the disaster situations. So there is a disaster happened, and now people are tweeting about their current situation. You know, during the disaster situation, physical connectivity is very limited. So in that case, if we can collect the tweets of those persons who are in the particular region, and then somehow summarize the tweets, then maybe we can give the information to the rescue team, and rescue team can easily understand, they can basically plan for the rescue operations. So multimodal information processing has huge applications in several tasks of natural language processing. So there are different ways of handling this multimodal information. Already we understood what is the need of the multimodality, because now we are, even if maybe one modality is not sufficient to give us accurate information, if you are collecting information from multiple sources, then maybe that will give you additional information. So so multimodality, how does it work? So one is called the early fusion. So early fusion means that you have to collect information from multiple sensors. You have to extract the features, because in machine learning, without feature extraction, we cannot develop a decision model. So first stage is the feature selection or the feature extraction. So there are multiple sensors. We are collecting information with their help, and then there are separate feature extraction modules, and finally we are fusing these feature vectors and then taking a decision. So this is called the early fusion. Then there is called the late fusion. So late fusion means that based on individual sensors, you are building a decision model. So it could be a classification or the regression problem. And based on the individual sensor, we are building a decision model. And finally, we are ensembling the outputs of these different classifiers. So this is basically called the late fusion. And then there is a term called the intermediate fusion. So here, this feature collection or the feature integration is done in a hierarchical fashion. So maybe first we are collecting features from sensor 1 and then sensor 2 and then fusing them together. Then that feature vector is further fused with the sensor 3. So this in a hierarchical manner, we are collecting the feature vectors, and then there is a single model, a machine learning or deep learning based model with those set of features. So now I would like to talk about one application of this multimodal information processing in chatbot design. Dialogue systems are nowadays very much visible. We are using Alexa, Siri, Google Assistant. In our home we have Alexa everywhere. So those are called basically the virtual agents or the chatbots. And it's not very easy to design a chatbot because chatbot is having many components. Like suppose you are saying something to the chatbot. So first it is a robot, it is a chat robot, and the chat robot has to first understand what the user is trying to say. So first the robot has to analyze what is the intention of the user, what the user is trying to say. And then once it understands the intent and also extract the relevant information from the user's utterance, next task is to map this, there is a reinforcement learning algorithm. So in the backbone, there is a reinforcement learning algorithm, which basically maps this state into an action. And this action is further translated into response. There is a natural language generation module. So this natural language generation module is responsible for translating the action selected by the reinforcement learning algorithm to system response. So there are various modules which are basically defining a chatbot. There is a natural language understanding module, which is responsible for understanding the user's utterance, understanding the intent, communicative intention of the speaker to extract the relevant information. And the second is the dialogue manager, which is basically taking decision. State to action mapping is done by the dialogue manager. And finally, there is a natural language generation, which is generating the response. So this is behind the chat robot. So now I will talk about the first stage, which is the natural language understanding. To understand the communicative intention of the user, what user is trying to say. So that, like for example, if user is saying, what I think, how about you? So this is basically an open question, or that's all right. This is basically example of understanding. So the chatbot has to automatically understand the communicative intention of the user. So here we are the first to pose this problem as a multimodal information processing problem. So in general, if you see the existing literature, they are mostly relying on the textual version of the utterances. But we emphasize that we should not only consider the textual utterances, but we should also see the facial expressions and the communicative, and also the basically the audio tones, to better understand the communicative intention of the user. Like if the user is saying, okay, sure, or yeah, right, you know, those, whether these are kind of agreement or disagreement, that depends on the body language. So, you know, you have to see the facial expressions or the audio tones, then only you can understand whether these are meant to be agreement or disagreement. Similarly, there is another, so basically mostly in expressive dialogue acts like greeting, thanking, apologizing, etc., can be better understood if you are considering the multimodal information. And the second is that the emotional state of the user has a huge impact on the communicative intention. So if I am sad and I am saying, yeah, sure, then means it is an agreement. But suppose I am very angry and I am saying, yeah, sure, so then it's a kind of a disagreement. So the emotional state of the speaker has a huge impact on the communicative intention. So here, basically what we did, we solved yesterday people were saying that women are good in doing the multitasking. So we basically use that particular concept, multitasking concept, to solve two tasks together. One is the emotion recognition, and there is a dialogue act classification, or understanding the communicative intention of the user. So these two tasks are basically solved simultaneously, with the assumption that emotion will help in improving the dialogue act classification, and the dialogue act classification will help in improving that emotion. So we solve this in a multitask setup. And you know, in natural language processing, if you are developing a particular model, the first task would be how to validate the model. There is no existing data set which is having multimodal clues and also the emotion tags and the dialogue acts tags present. So that was the main challenge when we basically formulated this particular problem statement. There was no existing data set. So what we did, there were two data sets which are called basically this IMO cap and mail. So this IMO cap and mailed are basically some multimodal emotion recognition data sets. So there are three modalities: audio, video, and text. But those utterances are tagged with the emotion classes. So we took those utterances and we manually, you know, in NLP you have to use the annotators. So annotators are the human experts who can manually see the utterances and can annotate the utterance with a particular tag. So we defined some 12 tags: greeting, question, answer, statement, opinion, statement, non-opinion, apology, comment, agreement, disagreement, acknowledgement, back channel, and others. So these 12 are different communicative intentions, and we asked the annotators to manually check individual utterances, their audio video signals, and then annotate each of these utterances with any of these 12 tags. So this way we have developed a manually created, basically we have curated this particular data set. So this is the data set statistics. So finally we are having 1341 dyadic and multiparty conversations. 19,365 utterances are there. And as I mentioned, there are three modalities: audio, video, and text. So these are some examples you can see, like come on, pick up, pick up. So this is a dialogue act, is basically a command, and the emotion is basically fear. So this way each of the utterances is basically annotated with the dialogue act and also the emotion tags. So you can see some example like how the multimodality is helping. So if you see this utterance, fine, then you tell Roger because he was really looking forward to this. So if you only see the text, then text basically suggests agreement or the opinion. But if you see the audio and the video signals, so audio is suggesting some commending tone and the video is suggesting furious. So finally we understood, after considering the multimodal information, the annotator understood that this is basically a kind of comment. It's not basically agreement. Similarly here, that's very amusing indeed. So here also text suggests agreement, but the audio suggests sarcastic tone and video slight anger. So we understood that this is not an agreement, but this is basically a disagreement. Okay, so this way the multimodality basically helps us in correctly identifying the dialogue act. Similarly, you can see that how the emotion helps. If you know that, well, you know, I appreciate you coming over and talking to me, I mean, it definitely helps. If you know the emotional state that this is a sad, then you can easily understand that this is an example of acknowledgement. So this way, multimodality basically helps us. And then, you know, I'm not going into the details. So we developed a deep learning architecture. It's a multitask-based deep learning architecture. So we are solving two tasks simultaneously, emotion recognition and the dialogue act. And you know, there are inputs are coming from the audio modality, text modality, and the video modality. And then we are solving this, we are using some deep learning models, we are putting attentions because you have to align the text and the image vectors together. So we are putting the attentions, different types of attentions. And then we are classifying, there are two channels, one for the dialogue act, another for the emotion. And our results suggest that, yes, so text individually is performing good. So individually text is giving 62.35% at F1 score. But when we are adding, you know, that you can see this one, this is the dyadic, yes. So when we are adding the audio into this, there is a decrease in the performance. But when we are adding video with the text, there is a further increase by 6%. So only text we are getting 62%, but text plus video is giving 68%. So basically it means that audio is not somehow not contributing. That may be because we are using some existing tools like OpenSmile to extract some features from the audio signals. Maybe that is not giving us the optimal set of features because we have not investigated into audio processing. We use the existing tools. But video along with text is helping us to improving the accuracy. So this is the thing. And also, like if you see this heat map, like, oh, yes, yes, I am, you can't stop me. So if you see this visualization of the weight, so with only the dialogue act classification, the emphasis are giving on this yes, yes, on these two words. But if you are solving the both tasks, multitasking, then emphasis are given on this can't, me, all these words. So which are correctly helping us in understanding the communicative intention. So now quickly I am not, so basically we also solve another task which is called the tweet act classification. So similarly, the dialogue act classification, you know, you can also try to understand the communicative intention of a tweet. So when somebody is tweeting, what is the purpose of the particular tweet? So like whether it is a suggestion or it is an expression or it is a statement or it is a threat. Because if you can automatically understand that this tweet is a kind of threat, you know, then you can alert the police department. So that is basically called the tweet act classification to automatically understand the communicative intention of a particular tweet. So similarly, we also developed our own data set. And here we solve 3 tasks simultaneously: sentiment, emotion, and the tweet act classification. So this is a multitask approach where 3 tasks are done simultaneously: sentiment analysis, emotion recognition, and the tweet act classification. So I'm not going into detail. I just would like to tell you another application of this multimodal information processing. So we are doing, we are basically developing some virtual doctors. So, you know, if you see the current diagnosis systems, so patients are visiting the hospitals, and there are some, you know, doctors who are collecting the symptom information. So they are asking several questions to or there are some nurses who are basically collecting information about the symptoms from the patients. And then there is a senior doctor. So the junior doctor used to collect the symptoms, and then they used to present those symptoms to the senior doctor, and finally senior doctor is taking a decision. So can we somehow automate this process? This is called the automatic disease diagnosis. So patient is coming with a self-report. So there is a self-report, patient has to report some symptoms. Then there will be an automatic chatbot. It's a kind of virtual doctor. So the virtual doctor will keep on asking different symptoms. And you know, symptom association is also important. So it has to keep track, like if the user has told that I am having cough, then the next question would be whether do you have any fever or not. So there is a virtual doctor who is collecting the symptoms, and finally those symptoms are presented to the disease classifier. So there is a disease classifier. So this disease classifier will basically perform the disease classification. So this is a very interesting work that we are doing. And also in the process, like sometimes maybe user is not aware of the medical terms. So like maybe he is not aware of the medical symptom names. So he or she can also show some images, like I am having some skin infection. So instead of telling this, maybe he can show he or she can show the image of the skin. So basically, it is also a kind of multimodal information processing. The virtual doctor has to understand the symptoms not only from the images, but also from the text. Yes, so we are developing this kind of architecture where it's a reinforcement learning based architecture. We are trying to develop a virtual doctor. Okay, so I think I am running out of time. So yeah, look, I was just thinking of showing one another application which is on multimodal summarization, but maybe next time. Yeah, so if you have any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Saha, for that very interesting talk. The floor is open to questions. I wanted, based on the previous discussion with Dr. Day, I was wondering in this medical application, if you could also see
Biases.
how women showcase their symptoms when they talk to doctor, how they present the symptoms, and how men present the system, and take the data and maybe try to do some analysis and ensure that the model also takes care of
Women.
the symptoms described by
True.
all genders.
True.
So
Surely.
I think that would be a
Yeah.
very interesting study to look at.
So bias in data we must study.
Bias,
Yes.
bias
The
in
data is
would be a very good
yeah.
thing to take a look at. I teach a course here at IIT Jodhpur on dependable AI, and some of these kinds of applications that Dr. Day discussed and you are looking at, I would be really interested in looking at the results of some of them and maybe incorporating some of those in my lectures.
Sure.
Questions? And let's thank Dr. Saha, and let's big round of applause for both the speakers of the day of both this session. Thank you so much, Dr. Day and Dr. Saha, for the wonderful session today. Over to the organizers. Thank you.
So with this, we proceed to felicitation of our presenters and the chairperson. I request Dr. Richa Singh to felicitate our first presenter, Dr. Lipika Dey. I also request Dr. Singh to felicitate our second speaker, Professor Shreeper Nasa. And I request convener Dr. Ritu Gupta to felicitate our chairperson of theme 5, Dr. Richa Singh. Thank you. With this, we move to the next theme of the day, Journey of Women Entrepreneurs. This session will be chaired by Rajesh Parishwar, who is the Head Public Policy, Government Affairs and Engagement, India and South Asia, Royal Society of Chemistry. Mr. Raj's responsibilities are focused on developing and managing the RSC's strategic objectives and activities in India to advance chemical sciences. That includes working with the Indian chemistry community, professional societies, policymakers, and industry, and strengthening the UK-India research collaborations. He has previously worked as a senior science and innovation advisor at the British High Commission in India. Also, he was a technology and business journalist for The Week, a national magazine, and Deccan Herald, a leading newspaper in Bangalore. He continues to write for RSA's Chemistry World, a scientific magazine. He is also recipient of Rolls-Royce Chevening Research, Science and Innovation Leadership Fellowship in 2018 and completed the study at University of Oxford. I request Mr. Rajesh to chair the second and the last session of the day on journey of women entrepreneurs.
Thank you, and welcome to the last session of this symposium. I think at the outset, I would like to thank Ritu for doing a fantastic job putting this program, celebrating women's science in this manner. And it was heartening to see various aspects about science. It was not only chemical sciences. For me, I have been attending a lot of chemical sciences, but wonderful talk by Dr. Day this morning in terms of women's science as well as on technology. And yesterday, we had a lot of discussions on basic sciences. I think this session is slightly going to be different. I think we are going to hear celebrate science and people who have, 3 women who have taken a different journey along working on science. And I think this is more, I think this session will give a little more perspective in terms of what are the other opportunities as well going forward along when you're doing science. And we have identified 3 women who have adopted this, have taken science to a translation, mass commercialization aspects. First speaker is going to be Dr. Sufia Khan. She is Associate Professor of Banasthali Vidyapeeth. She is also founder of Drumlins Water Technologies. She has won a lot of awards, national and international awards. And also like to say that she is also part of the Chris Fellowship at Oxford. And we didn't really meet at that program, but I think she was 1 year later, she joined this one. I welcome Sufia Khan to come and deliver the talk. And one of the things what we would do is we will have the presentations of all the entrepreneurs and then do the Q&A later together. Thanks.
Hello. Yeah, so respected all the dignitaries and the galaxy of the scientists over here, young budding scientists and the young coming entrepreneurs. A very good morning to each and everyone. I'm Dr. Sufia Khan, Associate Professor and the founder of the Drumlins Water Technologies Private Limited. So first of all, I'm really very thankful to the organizer of this conference, Dr. Ritu, and for just inviting me in this wonderful conference and allow me to share my thoughts with the young and the beautiful minds. So thank you so much, Ritu, and Rajesh too also. So I feel honored and privileged to be here. So presently and today I will be just highlighting my journey from where I started from my basic research. I trained myself as a molecular biologist and how I translated and I have founded the spin-out company that is the Drumlins Water Technologies Private Limited. So I will take you from my journey, the journey from the basic sciences to the commercializations, a water research labs to the establishment of the Drumlins Water Technologies Private Limited. So this company is an spin-out company originated by own established research center, that is the Center for Excellence, Water and Energy. And mainly we have worked hard in the development of the affordable defluoridation technology. So today I will talk about the not only the science, but this is the story of the lots of failures in my journey, lots of frustrations, and I can say it's a brutal journey. But during the whole the journey, I bagged so many of the awards too. So it's a triumph, success, and it's a story of nurturing the women scientists as well as the women entrepreneurs, a new way to go. So as I belong to the world largest residential women university, that is the Banasthali Vidyapeeth, and I took the opportunity to nurture the women scientists and the women students from last 17 years. So this university trained the women in the every sphere of life, and it creates the leaders, women leaders mainly. So from this slide, I would like to take you 17 years back when I joined that university as my first, I was joined as a lecturer, and then I took the different part to leave the job, and then I decided to pursue the DVTRA-ship. Okay, so what I have observed there, I observed there in the surrounding area that most of the young people, especially the kids, has to go through the knee replacements and has to go lots of fluorosis problem, dental and the skeletal fluorosis. And many young people, like before the age of 40, they has to go through the knee replacement. So it's a I trained myself as a molecular biologist. I established my uh, lab in the area of the DNA fingerprinting, and I did my PhD in the molecular biology. But when I have seen this problem in the surrounding area, so that was the first challenging task I did. Being as a scientist, if you are a molecular biologist, for solving the problem of the fluoride and the water, then you have to take the next tilted path. So the first challenge I have faced, that how you could change your basic research in which you did your PhDs and all kind of things, and then you have to just tilt it to the next area, which is more closer towards the chemistry, chemical engineering, and all kind of things. So people at that time in the university thought, "Madam, to nano pe kaam karenge, kar hi nahi sakti." Many people say that she can't do it, she cannot do it. Okay, and at that time I was assistant professor, and I used to take like 28 hours teaching load. So it was the most tiring journey and the most frustrating time in my life, that I have to just change the path according to from the basic research to the water research. But luckily I did. So I took as a research problem 17 years back, fluoride as a research question, and I started my work. And what I find that globally around 200 million people, and India around 66 million people severely suffered from the problem of fluoride contamination. But the problem, this is the Rajasthan, which is place which I belong, that more than 45 lakh people still suffered from the problem of fluorosis. So it was in my mind at that time, why this problem has so closed, and I would like to share how I came into this. This problem was so personal to me, because my own daughter Sami suffered from the dental fluorosis at the age of 6 or 7. Despite of that, we have a very good water purification system at our home from the day one. So I took, there are 2 or 3 other reasons behind it. So this problem was so close to me, and I had decided what are the problems existing in the present solutions, like in the different RO system, ion exchange, phytoremediations, filtration parts. So So I thoroughly see that most of the technologies could not address the ionic fluoride, and they are not been able to reach out at the community level, and either they are not too sustainable too. So, and are complex in their nature. So what is in my mind, that I should develop one day a technology that it should be so simple that it would not require any kind of technical specifications to run. So that was in my mind, that science needs a very simple solution. I do not want to go into the complexity of it. And day and night I was working on the, one day I will make a very cost-effective solution for the fluoride. So I started my research and the journey in the 2030 when I got the Center for Excellence, and we have initiated our water research, and couple of the projects during this time I also able to get that by God grace. So we have developed, we have started our research development on the nano-adsorbents and sensors, development of the nanophytoremediation technologies, development of the detections of the different nanoplastics and the nanomaterials, heavy metals in the water also. And I would proud to say that all of these technologies have been patented. And the water research lab, for which I belong, the 8 technologies are ready for the commercialization, and they are at the different levels of the commercialization. Some are at the technology readiness level 5, 6, or some are in 3 or 4, I can say. So we have started our work in the area of phytoremediations, because I belong to the life sciences. So we have used the plant as a source that it removes the contaminants from the soil. But as a good researcher, that we did a lot of work in the area that how we could improve this process, because this process has a drawback of the slow process, because the retention time is large, and we have to go for the 2 or 3 months for the purification by the growth of the plant and all these kind of things. So we have utilized so many of the things like plant growth promoting bacteria, chelating agents, and the nanoparticles. And earlier we have started and initiated our research in the mapping of the fluoride endemic area and development of the GIS-based mapping of the fluoride contaminated groundwater. And I would like to say that over here, by doing all these kind of studies, I've been able to understand that the fluoride levels are varying up between the 100-meter ranges. And we did a lot of work in the total fluoride in the, not only in the water, in the soil, but in the vegetation too. How it could like be the part of the ecosystem and how we can work together to remove the fluoride intake from your daily diets in a form of water or in a form of a vegetation. So these are the, I will not go to my papers, but I'm just saying that because it's a journey from our basic science to the main commercialization. So we address all as a being as a scientist that how I could improve the heavy metal removal efficiency and speed of the process, and is the microbe or the nanoparticles or different nanomaterials affect the plant biomass or the different growth parameters, and how to make this process sustainable. And luckily, we have started our work on the greener synthesis. We have worked on the sustainable aspect of the nanomaterials, and we have checked the efficacy of the different nanomaterials on the plant systems. And in this area, we have also checked out the copper carbon nanofiber efficiency on the plant system, and we found that very good results in the like in the germination process, in the root shoot length, and the total things. And we have just applied this in our nanophytoremediation technologies too. So we have published this paper in the Environmental Science Nano, and that was the like turning point, and we have applied this in the day-to-day living, and we commercialized and we have patented the first nanophytoremediation technology for the fluoride removal from the soil. And then the journey continues, and lots of papers came in my lab. And till now, there are more than 85 papers, 7 patents, and the 5 books still. And presently, also, we are working on the different aspects of the water regeneration part, different nano-adsorbents, and working on the sustainability aspects. So here at this stage, I would like to tell you, during my whole research journey, one day, one postdoc has came to me that, ma'am, we are suffering from the problem of the leaching of the nanomaterials. And the one like tea bag is in front of me. So I have given an idea, could we design a tea bag like pouches for the removal of fluoride? And that was a like random idea that came in my mind. And luckily, we worked hard, and then we will able to publish, and we will design the different tea bag-like pouches for the removal of the fluoride from the water as well as the tea. Where the people do not know that tea also contains a larger amount of the fluoride. But we have designed the tea bags-like pouches for the removal of fluoride from the tea as well as from the water. And this we have published in the scientific reports, as well as this catches wide media attention. I did not know at that time that why these people are so much of why this is so attracting to each and everyone. And one day I got the call from the National Bioentrepreneurship Competition, and somebody called that this product is in the high demand and you should commercialize it. And at the similar time, my lab has grown up, and several postdocs has also joined. And what I've seen the pain of the women scientists over there, that they came to me and said that, ma'am, do something for me. We are due to our marriages and all kind of things. I have not been able to go outside the country for my PDF, and we do not have a job. So I have seen these kind of pain. So I have decided, why not, if I can do this thing and I create the opportunities for the women scientists. So the only two things came in my mind, and one peon, who is also I am respect a lot, is come to me, come and do something being as a researcher and do something for the Banasli and associated places. We are really suffered from the problem of fluoride contamination. And at that day, I decided to launch and formulate this company just to create the employment and to make the India fluoride free. So journey begins with our single steps, just with the two motivation in my mind, to create the opportunities for the women, especially in, and second, to make the India fluoride free. And that's why sorry. So we have established the Rumblins Water Technologies Private Limited in year 2019 with a mission to make the India fluoride-free country in the next 3 to 5 years. And our vision is to make the world best water purification technology on the earth that is very sustainable and affordable too. And I'm proud to say that now our company is an employees of like 10 to 15, and there are 4 employees in that recently got awarded from the DST Rajasthan for their huge contribution in the science and technology. All of did their PhDs under me, then do the postdocs, and then join the company. So it's a great feeling as a teacher that you groom your students at that level that you are at that stage. Now they are colleagues. Now they are colleagues. And this is like the satisfaction I got, it's unparalleled to any kind of things, I can say. So I love my students, and I'm the most blessed teacher on this earth, I can say. So we came out with all of my team efforts. Our first like smart universal defluoridation nanorod equipped with the sensor. We are at the technology readiness level 7, and with the, by God grace, if everything is fine, we will launch this product very soon. So we have developed the prototype from starting with the tea bags like 200 ml capacity. Then we started with the 1 liter capacity, and then 5 liter capacity. Now we are at the 500 liter capacity. And the Dramlins came out with a very innovative solutions. That is the single point of water purification system for the community tanks. It is in the high demand, and like according to the Jal Shakti mission, in the next 2023-24, that government has already committed 3.5 trillions on the Jal Shakti Ghar Ghar Yojana. And they have approved, like you can say that they have approved 202 crores only for the 4 villages in the Rajasthan for the defluoridation unit. Okay, so here I would like to tell all the researchers who are listening to me that simultaneously your research should be like that. It should convert into the wealth, and it could create the employment, and it should be the win-win situation. A professor should have a multiple source of income in the coming time. You people observe. Okay, because our journey is not at that stage, but if you think from the day one, from your own journey, that these things will be the game changers in the coming next 10 years. So you should think seriously for it. If you are working hard, so think in an innovative term. Second most important thing, that when I have just showed to my previous slide, if during your journey, if you came across with any disruptive solution, then only you think about the scale up. If your problem is not correct, and if your solution is not disruptive, please do not open any company, because all the incremental things will not lead you anywhere. And this journey is also very up and down. And I'm already saying you, this is the brutal journey. This is the brutal journey. It's not so easy. And for the basic science to the commercialization and then the wealth creation up to this, you have to go through so much of roller coaster rides. So these are the things we are at that stage. So how we are unique with our USPs, that our products removes both the bound and the free fluorides. It is affordable. I have already said that it was in my mind that I should develop, because sustainability and affordability, you have to think from the day one. Whatever the chemicals you are utilizing in the experiments, and then suppose you are making a nanocomposites, and if you design, and if you could, we think nothing from 10 years back. We can utilize any chemicals, anything else, but when the scale up is come, then you have to avoid lots of the chemicals from your list. No, because it is not scalable. We cannot go for it, okay? So if you think that your solution should be affordable, so you have to think in that terms also. And the most important thing, uniqueness of our technology, that is do not require water and electricity for the operations. It is so simple that you have to dip in the water and the fluoride will be removed. And the one day it will come that it will replace the RO system from our homes too. It is my dream. And like one day it will reach. And it is easy to maintain, simple install, single point of use. And the regeneration of the materials I have already utilized in that. And it is equipped with the sensors too. I'm avoiding this. So we are during the whole commercialization journey, in 2021, we have already product validated in the Banasli houses, 200 houses of the Banasli. And then 2022, we have launched this product in the surrounding area. And we are at the fundraising to the angel investor. And this slide I would like to show only for the one reason I would like to say. So the transition from a scientist to an entrepreneur is very, very tough. The project grants that you are writing for the R&D proposal is very, very much easier if you compare with the business development grants or writing of the big grants or writing for the angel investor. You have to learn the language of the investors too. You have to learn the language of the business too. And you are not very well acquainted with all these kind of thinkings from their perspective. We are raising from the technology background. We are not thinking in those terms. But if you make sustainable and profitable enterprises, there is no option for you. You have to learn all these kind of techniques. So I the CRIPS fellowships and so many of the programs I have attended during my life, and I forget my ego. I put aside my ego that I am a professor in the university, because I have to fight with youngsters who are nothing else. So the most important thing that you have to fight and you have to go into the grounds, because you can lead by the examples only. You cannot preach, you cannot change the society by only the preaching. So I thought that my students always learn from me, and that they could started their own journey and I could be help them. And I'm very proud to say that most of the students are in startups. I am the mentor. And the most of the women faculties are also have started their own startup journeys. So if you want to launch the product and go into the market, and you need to, lot of you start ready to prepare yourself with lots of hurdles, lots of the non-sleepy nights. You have to forget your Sundays, Mondays, and you have to ready to pay the price for it. 10 years भूल जाइए कुछ भी होगा आपकी लाइफ के अंदर. 10 years भूल जाइए कि 5 साल में आपको कोई रिजल्ट मिलेगा. रिजल्ट कुछ नहीं आता है, 10 साल तक नहीं आता है, और आपको 1000 बार अनसक्सेस होना के लिए तैयार रहना. यू हैव टू हाउ टू हैंडल योर फेलियर इन योर जर्नी इज अ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट. और इस पूरी जर्नी के अंदर आई फॉरगेट अबाउट बहुत बार मेरे साथ ऐसा हुआ है. आई फॉरगेट कई बार मुझे लगता है क्विट हो जाऊं मैं एकदम. आप बहुत प्रेशराइज फील करते हो. आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी की टीचिंग है, आपके इतने इंस्टीट्यूशनल वर्क हैं, उसके बाद आपकी रिसर्च है, उसके बाद आपकी कंपनी है, फिर आप उसको काम कर रहे हो सारी चीज़ों को. हाउ यू हैंडल, एंड यू हैव 2 kids also who are equally in the 11th and 12th stages. So the managing the hour to home and all kind of things. And during the corona periods, when you suffered, that how you can give the paychecks to your employees. एंड द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग, आप जब खुद एक एम्प्लॉय होते हैं तो आपका कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होती है, लेकिन जब आपको देना होता है पैसे किसी को और वो आप पे डिपेंड होते हैं, तो वो ह्यूज रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. वो बहुत ह्यूज रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. एंड एट दैट टाइम फेलियर इज नॉट एन ऑप्शन फॉर यू. यू हैव टू स्टैंड अप अगेन, and again and again you have to go through this journey. So I can say that the journey from the science to technology takes 20 years. Are you ready to give your 20 years? Then go into it. Otherwise, please, I'm saying no to you. Because for any fully functional company you are seeing now these days, it is a story of consistent hard work, not only for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It is the story of the 20 years. So the challenges are what I have faced during my journey, that missing the role models. There are no role models for academician, that how can I started my academic spin-offs. There are no role models in our universities as well as in the India or the abroad, good role models to whom I can follow, because most of the people follow the same part. Go for the H-index citation, number of the papers, not in the translation part. Especially in India, I am saying. You cannot take role model from the USA. You cannot take role models from the Oxford. Okay, and you cannot take the people who do not have family. So you have to think that you are role model should be the local person. And the institutional support. Institutional support means they have lacks of the very IPR policy, and the innovation policy plays at the tier 2 and tier 2 levels. And third most important thing, your own family members डर जाते हैं वो आपकी मेहनत देख के, और वो ये कहते हैं छोड़िए इसको, आपसे नहीं होगा, बिजनेस आपसे नहीं होगा, इतनी मेहनत नहीं होगी. यू आर ऑलरेडी द प्रोफेसर इन द यूनिवर्सिटी, फॉरगेट अबाउट इट. आप छोड़ दो, आपकी फैमिली सफर कर रही, ये कर रही, तो आपको बहुत सारे चैलेंजेस से गुजरना होगा. तो पहला लेवल खुद ही के लोगों से लड़ना होता है, और फिर उसके बाद आपके आते हैं कलीग, जहाँ पे आप काम करते हो वो लोग हैं. दूसरे फिर पीयर्स है, और उसका करंट इकोसिस्टम तो है ही है जिससे लड़ना आपके, अगर आपकी बस की बात है तो यू नीड अ करेज to move forward in your life. And the third thing, you need funding until and unless your enterprise will be sustainable. तो वो funding का मैंने आपको बता दिया कि जो है funding भी इतनी आसान नहीं होती है. And the third is the retention of talents. When you recruit the high PhD postdocs in your startups and you are not getting money, because you are in the product development and the TRL stages, how you retain them. And the stress of the work-life balance is the most crucial factor. And these all things these are the challenges which I faces. And during the whole journey of this, that Dumplings has incepted in the 2019, but it bagged so many of the awards, like Direct Eye Winner Award and the winner of the NASI. We got recently the NASI Reliance Platinum Jubilee Award 2021. And we got several international and the national awards for it. And I'm proud to say that not all, from the R&D aspect, being as a professor, I have an experience to raise the 10 crore INR funds, but being as a entrepreneur, I have raised the 10 million INR and more than it. And most of the investors are now coming in our enterprises. And recently that I got the Women Transforming India Award too, and the Women Entrepreneurs Story has been released by the Honorable Defense Minister Rajnath Singh and Niti Aayog. So I am thankful, and these 2-3 days previous award from like Water Digest Award, especially in the water category. And apart from it, we are doing and translating our work in the nearby surroundings. So this is the Banasli village where I went for the outreaching programs over there for creating the awareness and giving our products to. So these are the glimpses of our outreaching programs. And I'm very, very thankful toward the Center for Excellence Water. And these are our pilot facilities at the PDEU. And we also organize, like I also organize the radio talks for the awareness, as well as I organize some events for the school children's, as well as for the college children's also at their different fest and all kind of things. And we are giving the awards to them too. सो जो एक ही बात जो यहाँ सब सुन रहे हैं उसको मैं कहना चाहूँगी कि आपकी जर्नी में हमारी सारी बहुत सारी जो है अचीवमेंट्स वगैरह सब लिखी जाती हैं, लेकिन आप किसी की अगर दर्द देखना चाहते हैं किसी चीज़ को कि वो कैसा इंसान है, कहाँ तक पहुँचा है, तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि सारा कमाल दर्द का है, यूं ही कोई मिर्ज़ा गालिब बना नहीं है. हर कोयले को दर्द से गुजरना है, हर हीरे की आजमाइश होनी है. तो आपको रेडी रहना है उन सब चीज़ों से. और जो है कितने ही जो फेलियर्स आप किस तरीके से हैंडल करते हैं अपनी पूरी जर्नी के अंदर, तो अगर ये आप अगर सीख जाते हैं तो आपको 1 करोड़ पर मंथ सैलरी देने से भी कोई रोक नहीं पाएगा. ठीक है, तो जो है और कई बार जो है हम टूटते हैं फिर जुड़ते हैं. तो ये है कि ना जाने कितने दिनों बाद मैं खुद से मिली, 100 बार टूट के फिर मैं खुद से मिली. तो अपने आप से कहते रहिए हमेशा तक, जब तक कि सक्सेसफुल नहीं हो जाते अपने मिशन में, फेलियर इज नॉट एन ऑप्शन फॉर मी. इस मॉर्निंग के अंदर अपना आपको 10 बार एक ही चीज बता के चलिए कि नहीं, फेलियर इज नॉट एन ऑप्शन फॉर मी. दिस लाइफ इज फॉर अ ग्रेट मिशन एंड पर्पस ऑफ द लिविंग, एंड आई एम हियर to give a dent to the society. So these are the things which give you the motivations in the morning. And I used to write a lot. So this is my poem. I would like to say ki jo hai, a philosophy of the water, a hidden treasure. So in flow, it follows the path which is unexplored. In hurdles, it finds its own way. In peace, it stays grounded. And in being, it flows to the depth. I'm not reading to the whole poem, but the thing is that आप पानी की तरह हमेशा बहते रहिए, पत्थर आए उससे क्रॉस कर जाइए, बाकी चीजें आपका काम सिर्फ चलते रहना है, रास्ता खुद ब खुद बदलता जाएगा. And I'm thankful to not last but not the least, all my team members, funding partners, and all the students whom I have loved throughout my journey. And without them, I am nothing. And I always said to them, you are there for I am, and this company is yours. And join hands with me for the great impact to create in the society. So all of my students, like I loved a lot, and I encourage them to do and join with this great mission of this India. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Sophia. I think thanks for taking through the fascinating journey on the challenges for running a science startups. I think that's quite different from the startups we are looking at in the technology base. I think science has a lot more. We need to have a lot of perseverance in terms of achieving. We have the next speaker, Anuya Nisal from National Chemical Laboratories. She has a PhD from IIT Bombay. And she's going to talk to us her journey in terms of how you can use silk to repair tissues. Floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. By the time the slides are coming up, thought I can begin with a small introduction. I'm a scientist at CSIR National Chemical Laboratory, and I'm also the founder of Serigen Mediproducts, which is a startup that I co-founded along with my colleagues at NCL. So I'm going to talk to you today about my journey taking the technology from the lab to the market. Okay. So let's just begin by a small show of hands. How many of you here have enjoyed draping a silk sari or wearing a silk or flaunting your silk costumes? Okay. And there's just one more question that I want to ask. How many of you have suffered a bone fracture in your lifetime or have seen a near and dear one suffer from a fracture? Great. So what I'm going to do in the next 10 minutes is just going to tell you the connection between these two questions. Okay. So silk, as we all know, is a material that has been known for its luster, its shine, its royalty. It has dominated the textile market for several decades and centuries. It remains to be the material of choice for most brides and grooms and all of our festivities, right? The silk thread, interestingly, has also been used to stitch wounds. So more than 100 years ago, Johnson & Johnson, a medical company, has developed silk-based sutures to stitch wounds. And there are several companies, not only in India, but also globally, who make these kinds of silk sutures, which are used by several surgeons in various surgeries that they do. So what exactly is silk? Silk is a thread that is extracted from the cocoons of a silkworm. There are more than 1 lakh different species of butterflies, moths, spiders, insects who secrete this material. These are natural protein polymers and the common thing between all of them is all these organisms have different kinds of organs which allow them to synthesize this protein. They have a spinneret and they have an opening through which this protein comes out of their mouth in the form of a fiber. So we work mostly with Bombyx mori or mulberry silk as it is commonly called. Now India happens to be the second largest producer of silkworm silk. We are the only country globally to produce all 4 different types of silk, which is eri, muga, tussar, and I'm sure you've heard of these names. We work mostly with the mulberry silk because it can be produced in very large quantities with a very tight control on quality, which is important for the medical device. Okay. Now, as I told you, India is the second largest producer. So the sericulture industry or silk-based agriculture is called as sericulture. This is a very mature industry in India. We employ more than 8.6 million people in this. Contrast to this, our medical devices, we rely heavily on imports. We import more than 80% of the medical devices that are available in the, are used by surgeons in the industry today. So the motivation for our work was to actually build a bridge that connects both these two. So use of silk for medical applications. So I told you silk thread has been used for more than hundreds of years. What changed in the last 2 decades or so is that there are standard protocols that are available to convert this silk thread from the cocoon into a solution. Okay, so this is an aqueous process. It's environment friendly. And the reason it is attractive is because once I convert this into a solution, I can use this solution and process it as a chemical engineer. I know how to process this and convert it into various different products, 3-dimensional products that can be used in medical applications. So over the last decade or so, or even prior to that, at NCL, we have been actively working with these natural silk materials. We have developed protocols to convert it into hydrogels. We can make it into nanofibers. These nanofibers can be decorated with gold nanoparticles or bioactive molecules so that you can tune how they interact with different cells. We've also made very robust crack resistance nano coatings, which can be used in medical applications. We have 3-dimensional scaffolds, which are formed by very monodispersed particles made out of silk. So all of this was the work that we did at NCL. We had filed very interesting IP around it. We had very good publications that supported this work. Now, to just, for the audience, I'm just going to introduce this term as tissue regeneration. So whenever you have a failure of an organ or a tissue, the most widely accepted practice is transplantation, right? But I'm sure each one of you has read in the newspaper about how transplantation of an organ is difficult because of the immune rejection from the body, or how long you have to wait to get a correct match for somebody to transplant the organ, right? So tissue regeneration is addressing these problems. You use a material scaffold that can be put inside into the patient's body. This supports the cells from the neighboring tissues and allows it to repair the damaged tissue or the damaged organ. And then you have a patient who is completely healed, right? So this is the vision that we have. And the vision that we had was, can I use silk to do something like this? Because I now have the way to convert it into different forms. And can I tune how the cells interact with this material and develop it into a product? Now, when we were filing all these patents, and we had very great science that we had done in the lab where we understood a lot of fundamental aspects of this material, we had different options about how we could go forward, right? So one is we continue to do more academic research. We publish in some of the best international journals. The second was that we could have found a company to whom we could have licensed the technology. But as a researcher, I'm sure you're aware of that at such an early stage, it is very difficult to convince an industry that this is a technology which has the potential to transform the medical product market, right? The third thing was we were also talking to a lot of surgeons in and around Pune area, Delhi, Bangalore. We went and pitched at different hospitals, and we understood the pain points of the surgeons. We understood what kind of materials they're using, and there were no medical devices that are customizable for your Indian products, because we are importing most of the products, right? So that is when spin-off was the best alternative for us to take this technology forward. And that is how we... Okay, so that was the birth of the startup Serigen. We decided that Serigen would essentially focus on the material science of natural proteins to develop tissue regeneration products. So I'll just tell you about our flagship product, Serios. So imagine that there is a cavity in the bone. Cavity in the bone can be caused either due to a cancer, due to an infection, or also due to an accident. Especially when the cavities are large, about 3 to 5 centimeters in size. What the surgeon does today is he takes out bone from the pelvic region of the patient and he will plug it into that cavity. This is called as autografting. This means that you require 2 surgeries. It results in an additional wound and a scar. There is a longer hospitalization, longer recuperation time for the patient, increased pain and discomfort. In spite of all these limitations, this remains to be the gold standard for the surgeons because none of the synthetic materials match the performance of an autograft. And that is what our product Serios does. Serios addresses this unmet need, so it retains the convenience of use of a synthetic material, but matches the performance of an autograft. So Serios is available, Serios is available in all these different sizes, shapes, and the surgeon can pick and choose depending upon the anatomical site what he wants to use. It's very interesting. The compression modulus of this material is identical to the cancellous bone modulus. The porosity is similar to your cancellous bone. And all of these properties while retaining the inherent biocompatibility or safety of the silk-based material. So we have data. For us, it was never enough to be best in India. So compared to all the global products, we have shown that Serios outperforms all these different ones that are available in the market today for small size defects. What that means is that in a patient or for a surgeon, it means that there is reduced rates of complications, post-surgical complications such as secondary fractures. The quality of bone that is formed is excellent. So just like we use, I told you about use of your bone into the cavity, there are other surgeries such as a breast cancer surgery. So breast reconstruction when a surgeon does, he again uses a muscle autograft. So he takes muscle from the back to reconstruct the shape and size. So that is another surgery and where our product SeriMat is being used currently. It can be used in other soft tissue regenerations like a vaginal wall reconstruction, abdominal wall reconstruction. Our third product, Seriderm, is a non-adherent absorbent wound dressing. So essentially supports skin regeneration. And we have data to show that it promotes faster and efficient healing of wounds like diabetic foot ulcers, bed sores, and complex second-degree burns as well. So basically, the current product portfolio demonstrates the power and versatility of this silk platform, that it can cater to several different disciplines in medicine. So we expect that Cerigen is going to be a strong contender to capture this global tissue regeneration market, which is pegged at about $9 billion. Now, a path for a medical device is very long. So you begin with an idea stage, you develop a prototype, you prove that it is safe, you do a lot of animal studies. There are a battery of 10 tests that is prescribed as per a global standard. So all our 3 products have been certified safe and biocompatible by a third-party GLP certified facility. Very happy to share that for our 2 products, we have already recruited patients, implanted it in them, and we are following them up for after the surgery. We are the world's first company to use silk in bone repair. And Ceriderm, which is our wound dressing product, has recently received the FDA approval from the Indian regulatory body to launch it in the Indian market. To cater to this product launch and pilot manufacturing, we have set up our own facility, which is in accordance with ISO 13485, a global quality medical device certification. And so if you look at our current strategy includes, we are launching Ceriderm in India in 2022. We are working with some of the top hospitals in the Pune region for Ceriderm, while we continue with our clinical trials for our other 2 products of Cerios and Cerimat. And the idea is definitely to grow global. Our patents have been granted not only in US, Europe, Japan, but also, and of course, in India. So the idea is here to now build volume, build brand, and continue to scale in different markets. I think the team is an essential part of taking a startup to success. Me, Dr. Premnath, and Dr. Swati, they are my co-founders in this endeavor. We have backgrounds from premier materials research institutes. We're all 3 scientists, academicians by training, actually. While I and Premnath are actually chemical engineers, Swati brings in the complementary life science skill sets. We've also set up an eminent board of advisors, which includes highly decorated scientists, medical device industry experts, clinicians, business strategy experts, people who are serial entrepreneurs themselves, and Ravi, who is been like, he's a medical device industry expert, so a sales and marketing expert in that. So with this proprietary tissue regeneration platform, passionate and a committed team, excellent data and animal models, we expect that Cerigen will transform the tissue regeneration products market and grow into a global medical company. So I just want to focus on the 4 pillars which have helped Cerigen to come to a successful startup stage. One is, as an academician, we generally focus on technology. So as technology, the idea here is that you ought to have very good patents around the technology that you want, very good publications which show that the science is credible. In addition to that, it is required that you have a platform technology which does not cater to just one product, but it can solve multiple problems in a particular sector. Once you know that you have a large enough problem that you have identified that this technology can actually solve. So you have to talk to customers, just like what we did in the beginning. We spoke to a lot of surgeons to understand what are their pain points exactly. And those are the features that you want to incorporate into your product. So you have to have a person who's willing to pay for the thing that you're developing, right? And the second thing is that it cannot be that you can develop it for a very small market. I mean, you can do that if you want to do a social startup, but if you are really looking at a commercial business entity, it must have a large enough market for an investor to feel interested in investing in your startup. Team, as I mentioned, like Sufia mentioned, there are several sleepless nights that we have also gone through during the entire journey. There are challenges every day in and out. You come out of one and then the next one is in front of you. So having a co-founder team that is passionate, that is committed, whom you can call up in the night at 11 and talk to about the problem is important.
So people who are really, really perseverant and motivated only then jump into this entrepreneurial journey. And last, I think the success has been because of environment. NCL has been the pioneer in setting up an incubator, which is today India's largest science and technology business incubator. There is a scientist entrepreneurship scheme that was set up way back in 2009 in CSIR, which enables a scientist to commercialize your technology. Unless you have this kind of a conducive environment with your leadership supporting you in taking your product to the market, there are guidelines about conflicts of interest, there are guidelines about how the institute is going to hold equity in the startup, or what are the kind of arrangements that the scientist and the startup can have. It's very difficult, or it's unnecessary complications could come up. So a conducive environment, also in terms of funding. I think BIRAC has done a phenomenal job in supporting medical device startups like ours, because at an early stage where we started, it is not possible that an angel investor will come in and invest when you have not de-risked the technology sufficiently. So that is basically, like Sophia mentioned, the entire entrepreneurial journey has been extremely rewarding. It's been liberating, it is enriching. It's been an extremely a steep learning curve for me. So if you want to take the plunge, I really encourage all women to do that. If you, just one last thing, if you look at the statistics, women leaders or companies that are led by women leaders always show better revenues. The reason for that is that the working environment is better than the environment when it is led by a male startup. There are several studies globally to show that. Indira Nui, when she was the CEO, the revenues of the company actually doubled. So please, women, take up this role, take a plunge if that is what you're passionate about and you want to really do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Anuya. I think thank you for sharing your journey with Serigen in terms of trying to how to commercialize medical products as well. Next, we have Manjusha Shilke. I think she is also from NCL. She's a principal scientist, and she is a co-founder of Recharge-Ion Energy. She has been she has a PhD from CSI Advanced Materials and Process Research Institute, MP, India. She was also recently selected for Fulbright Nehru Academic Professional Excellence Fellowship Award. Floor is yours.
My pen, right? But you didn't hold it. Yeah. It's recognizing, huh? You can put it on desktop. Can you copy and paste it?
Give it 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll actually.
Okay. इसको कॉपी करना है
Yes, sir.
नहीं आ रहा है Not enough memory.
Is there something, any other issues there? It is coming and
Shall I bring it in another pen?
no, it is also in the mail.
There's some technical issues.
No, I'll do it.
Download it.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, just 2 minutes. नहीं प्रोजेक्ट ठीक है पेन ड्राइव में इशू आ रहा है
It is not downloaded.
Yeah, ma'am, it is downloaded now.
Downloads. USB.
नहीं लैपटॉप ठीक है लैपटॉप ठीक
It's not coming there. Full screen. Can you make it normal? Showing notes. Oh, I don't want that next day. I should be not showing. Can you go back?
Is it over right now?
Yeah. Yeah, so there was some technical hiccup. Anyways, well, so it was really nice, and thanks Rajesh for inviting us for this very, what I say, insightful program. I'm really happy that even Ritu insisted me to come on 18th itself, because initially I was planning to come yesterday. So I would have missed all the interesting talks and all the brainstorming that we have done during dinners and lunch, and it was really pleasant to listen to all the I mean, what they have achieved so much. All the ladies here, I would say, they have achieved so much in their life, but I see a lot of common things in between all of us. Some common, what I say, dimensionalities in the journey that we have taken up so far, and how we started and how we reached to a level where we have achieved something. There is some similarities in the form of like having very progressive parents, having very progressive life partners and all. Well, all women may not be fortunate enough to have such kind of family support. And besides of having this kind of family support, we have faced some sort of problems initially in the at workplace, but eventually everything falls in place. That's what I would say, and that's what I'm going to talk about today also. So how being scientist to building a deep tech startup, I found a purpose. So in life, whatever we do, we need some purpose. Otherwise, life will become very boring and monotonous, right? Everything that we do should have some purpose. So same thing is for science also, or even for scientific research also. So just to make a point, let me show you this quadrant. This is called as quadrant of scientific research, and this model has been proposed by Professor Donald Stoke, who was actually a professor of political science, but he proposed this, and he has written a very nice book called Pasture Quadrant, which is quite famous. So he proposed that there are these these kind of scientific researchers are around. So Bohr or Curie quadrant is about pure basic research without consideration or relevance to practical issues, even though Curie's discovery where now radioactive elements and all are being used in cancer treatment. But when she was doing it, it was just out of curiosity about the things around us, how universe is working and all, right? So similarly, there is Edison Quadrant. So Edison was a kind of applied research scientist. He was more driven towards entrepreneurial research. And then there is a Pasteur Quadrant, which is in between these two, where use inspired basic research to address important practical questions kind of research is being taken. So according to Stokes, this is the best quadrant for any researcher. The research should have a very deep understanding about what they are doing, as well as it should have some applied and I mean there should be some application, and there should be some that research should be used for solving at least some practical issues in day-to-day life of human beings. But I see that in academia, most of us end up here only, which he did not name it, but eventually many people theorize this as a waste quadrant, where we do just incremental research and publish a lot of articles, and then we get obsessed over impact factors and number of publications, H-index and what. Top 2% scientists or top 50 material scientists. I see a lot of such lists going around today. I don't know how much sense they make. But even so, I think we all start here only. I guess even I also started there from doing incremental research, but I was getting increasingly uncomfortable about this. You know, many of my friends and acquaintances who are not from research ecosystem, they question that why a taxpayer's money should be spent on you or in research, which does not have any, any direct relevance to our day-to-day life. Why a taxpayer should pay, their money should be paid on such huge amount of money should be paid on the research, right? You know, it can be arguable, and as a scientist, I of course argue very well against such comments. But somewhere inside, I was also questioning myself that, yeah, so the papers that I publish, they might be very good in science and all, but does they have actual real application potential or what? So that is what has driven me towards making more efforts for issues that are quite relevant to whatever industrial applications that I see based on my own research area. I did not change my research drastically. Whatever I was doing, I am basically a materials chemist. So I just diverted my efforts towards in a way or in a direction that there should be a industry, it should be solving some problems of industry or society, and that is how I incorporated my company. So before going to that, I'll just want to again make a point that why we should do research. So if you see, this is one Easter morning picture taken of Fifth Avenue, New York City. So you cannot spot automobile here. There is just one automobile, and entire road is filled with the horse cart driven vehicles. Okay. And within 13 years of span, this is again the same street. And now you can see the entire street is filled of combustion engine based vehicles, you know. So this transition within 13 years from animal driven vehicles to a combustion engine based vehicles has been done, or it has been possible to do because of the research or the engineering that has gone behind it, right? So that is how our curiosity or our research or our discoveries change the way we live or change the way society progresses, right? And now coming back to 21st century, we see a lot of such fancy cars around us, and that is a lot of OEMs are coming up with many kind of experiences that give us pleasant driving experiences based on how much, what kind of car you afford, right? But again, we also, what we do for betterment of our life, sometimes we create our own problems also. So one of the problem is that the combustion based or fuel, the fossil fuel based vehicles are causing is the pollution, right? So this is the one of New Delhi street. This picture has been taken in 2016, and it was published in Yale Environmental Issue. You can see So again, whatever progress we have made from animal-driven cars to combustion engine-based cars, vehicles, we have created pollution. We are polluting our planet, right? So now, again, what problems we create, we have to find solution for that, right? So again, we are moving towards electric vehicles to avoid these fossil fuel-based engines or fossil fuel-based cars, right? So this is what research do. This is why we do research, right? So now, because my work is more related to electric vehicles or batteries and all, so I just want to show you what does battery do in an electric vehicle and how I am, as a material scientist, is providing solutions for this, right? So if you see this graph, so this gives us the required energy density or specific energy for all kind of vehicle applications, right from starting lighting ignition to a complete electric vehicle. So if you see here that a complete electric vehicle needs at least a energy storage system that can have 20 kilowatt hour of energy. These figures are for 100 miles of run in a single charge. Okay, so 20 kilowatt hour is a quite huge energy, and if you see this is one of the hottest electric vehicle, Tesla's Model S. It has 100 kilowatt hour battery pack. You can see that this battery pack has occupied the entire floor of this sedan. And not only the space, the weight, 25% weight of this car is because of this battery pack, and the cost of this sedan is also because of this battery pack. So how this battery pack is made? It is made from such small, we call them 18650 cells, small cylindrical cells. You must have seen such kind of cells in many toys and all kind of, lot of instruments around us, right? So in toys and in torches, what you see are non-rechargeable cells, but these are rechargeable cells. So thousands of such cells are stacked together, and then a module has been made out of it, and then 16 such modules are connected to make this battery pack, right? So that's why to achieve this 100 kilowatt hour of energy, several thousand of such cylindrical cells are used. So to reduce this size and this weight, a lot of research is going on. A lot of automobile engineers are working on these components. There are other dead components also, like thermal management system or safety coverings and all. So what happened? Nissan had just changed the form of the battery that they are using in their electric vehicles. Instead of cylindrical cells, they are using pouch cells. So by using these pouch cells, they can reduce the size and shape of these battery packs slightly, but this change is not very significant. So again, what Nissan has done, that in their next generation Nissan Leaf car, they have changed the internal chemistry of their pouch cells, and from using this lithium manganese oxide based cathode materials, they have moved towards this nickel manganese cobalt oxide material. So just by changing the material, they could pack more energy in a single cell, and that is how they have reduced the size of their battery pack. So same kind of energy they could get with less number of cells, right? So this is what I am also doing. My research group also works on electrode materials, high specific energy electrode materials. So we can pack more energy in a single cell. So eventually we would require lesser cells to make a bigger battery packs, right? So I started working from lithium-ion batteries, and then I have moved towards next generation beyond lithium-ion technologies like lithium sulfur or sodium-ion batteries. We have been working on these areas since more than a decade, and a lot of publications, and most of my PhD students are working on different problems of these electrode materials or devices. Okay, so while doing that, I have realized that the requirement for the energy storage systems or batteries is growing exponentially around the globe. You know, because we are all these concerns towards global warming and all is driving the world towards these things like more shift towards renewable clean energy, more reliance on internet communication. We have experienced this in last 2 years, that how much we are reliant on internet communication, right? We were organizing conferences, giving talks, giving lectures while sitting at home because of internet communication, right? And then electric mobility. So as I said, the demand for rechargeable batteries is growing exponentially, and it is expected that by 2027, the demand for lithium-ion batteries or energy storage systems would grow at a CAGR of 13%, with the market size of $40 billion per year, right? And in India specifically, this demand doesn't have lithium resources or cobalt resources. And also the component manufacturing is concentrated or dominated by countries like China. And the third most pertinent issue is safety of lithium-ion chemistry. You must have seen Ola electric scooters or electric vehicles catching fire. The videos are doing rounds around us. So because lithium-ion battery cannot be discharged completely, it cannot be stored or transported at discharge state, and it can give away thermal runaway even at a slightly elevated temperatures. So in my lab, we were working on these two technologies, particularly sodium-ion technology, which is much safer, cheaper, while giving similar specific energies to lithium-ion batteries, right? So sodium-ion battery can typically be stored or transported at 0 volt. It does not give thermal runaway as much as lithium-ion batteries. And we were working on lithium sulfur batteries because it is having nearly 5 times more energy density than lithium-ion batteries. So we have filed 6 patents around these two technologies. A lot of papers have already published. And based on this, then I have incorporated recharge and energy last year. Anuya have told you about SES scheme, Scientist Entrepreneurship Scheme, right? So under that scheme itself, then I have incorporated this company. So our team of founders is including my husband also, who was having more than 20 years of research experience in multifunctional electrode materials. And then John has decades of experience with Imperial Innovations, specifically in early stage startup management. So he's my partner from UK. And this is our team of advisors. Professor James Robinson is one of the leader of UCL's LISTAR project. Just 2 minutes. Okay, we are collaborating with Automotive Research Association of India also, and we are being mentored by Venture Center of NCL. Well, I'll skip the technology part now. So this is the, last year we have incorporated Rechargian, and this is the growth so far. We have been announced as one of the top 17 clean tech startup by Tata Power Back Social Alpha. We have received our first grant from Technovus, which is Department of Heavy Industries Incubator, and being partnered with AREI. We have been part of first cohort of Atal Innovation Mission's AIM Prime program, and recently we have been selected as one of the top 10 companies for UK India Tech Startup Program of British government and Cambridge Clean Tech and Triple Chasm. Well, so this is the facility that I have created over the years at NCL for this kind of research, right from material synthesis to coin cell fabrication to pouch cell fabrication. And I must acknowledge, of course, my students as well as CSIR and DST. I have received majority of my research funding from DST and SUB. I have exploited all the schemes of DST and SUB, right from DST Nanomission, DST Materials for Energy Storage, DST Core Research Grant, SUB Core Research Grant, and I have been also funded by METI. I have received fellowships from Embassy of France in India and Indo-US Science and Technology Forum. All these efforts were acknowledged by National Academy of Sciences USA, and they conferred me as a Kavli Fellow, and also Maharashtra Academy of Sciences. And this year I am selected for Fulbright's Academic and Professional Excellence Fellowship. I am also thankful to SIR for acknowledging these efforts to make indigenous solutions for energy storage. And I have been selected as a SIR Power Fellow in 2021 for self-reliance or Make in India efforts in rechargeable batteries. Well, that's all about the Rechargian or my journey from being scientist to entrepreneur. This last slide I'm showing because we have really stimulating discussions yesterday night during dinner with Shobna and Neetu and all. So Neetu was mentioning that her supervisor used to dress up very nicely while coming for lectures because she want to make a point that scientists are not all boring and they can be good looking. And okay, so generally I observe that we do opposite of it. When we go to office, we try to be as boring as possible because we don't want to attract unnecessary attentions. We wanted to be known for our research or our work and not for how we look or how we dress up, right? But I like the point that she made yesterday, because in my personal life, I like to dress up, I like to wear makeup and all, but I'm cautious of doing that while going to office. Okay, because we all experience that somehow when women make a progress, her success, people try to assign to some man. I don't know why. If I'm working on battery, people will ask me, oh, you work with that XYZ person? That XYZ person is some male colleague who is also working on batteries. So it's not necessary. It's not necessary that every woman is achieving success by piggybacking on some man or some colleague, right? But this kind of questions are being asked for a long time. Now probably nobody would dare to ask me that. But in the start of my career, so I cautiously used to avoid to take support. Why we need to do that? A man would never think before taking support of any senior colleague, right? But we have to think twice because we don't want to be labeled that we have been favored or we have been supported for being women, for being good looking woman and all, right? So this is Rita King. She's scientist at NASA, and she has given this talk wearing this sparkly short dress to make this point that scientists are not all boring. It's just to avoid unnecessary attentions and unnecessary comments that we have to pretend like that. So this is a message for all you girls that you can be glamorous, you can be good looking, you need not to be look like a main for while working in a male dominated areas of career, right? And even being woman empowerment does not mean being anti-men. See, I have very supportive men all my life. My PhD supervisor was very nice person. So it's not that all men are bad. It's just that we have sixth sense, right? We know that who is good and bad. So we have to maintain that balance. We have to be diplomatic, how you can be behaving during your professional things, right? But in your personal life, you can do anything. You can go for partying, you can dance, you can wear short dress. I do that. My colleagues, I mean, maybe Anuya never saw me while wearing a short dress and all, but my students know. So I maintain that dual personality. I always say that while going to work, I'll be very boring, but while in my personal life, I enjoy everything, okay? So that's the message that I would like to give you. Thank you.
Thank you, Manjusha. I completely agree. I think we don't have to be boring, but the science was really exciting. And I think we should really showcase and I think congratulate. I think I would like to say thanks to all the entrepreneurs, Sophia, Anya, and Manjusha for coming and sharing their wonderful journey as an entrepreneur, as well as a scientist. I think they have taken up some projects which has applications which will impact the society. And I think we had wonderful, one was interesting on water, the other one was medical devices, and finally we are looking at energy. Unfortunately, because of the paucity of time, and I think everybody has to leave for the airports, I think we can't have the discussion. But what I would suggest is maybe during the coffee time, you can really go, if you have any personal questions or other things, you can have those discussions with the three entrepreneurs who are here. Thank you. Sorry for canceling out the group discussion here.
Thank you, everyone. We proceed with the felicitation of our presenters. May I request Chairperson Mr. Rajesh to felicitate our first speaker, Dr. Sophia Khan. I also request Mr. Rajesh to felicitate Dr. Anuya Nisal, our second presenter. Dr. Anuya Nisal. And I request Mr. Rajesh to felicitate Dr. Manjusha Shelke. A third and last speaker of the day, Dr. Manjusha Shelke. Finally, I request convener Dr. Ritu Gupta to felicitate our chairperson, Mr. Rajesh Parishwar. Thank you very much. Over to you, Ritu.
A very good morning to all of you. Now we are heading towards the end of the program. Before that, I would like to invite all the dignitaries to the stage. I request Professor Sandeep Verma, Secretary SERB, Professor Anil Mishra, Dr. Lipika De ma'am, and Professor Richa Singh to please come on the stage. I also request Dr. Rajesh and Dr. Khushbu to also please come on the stage because we also have poster prizes and it's time to announce the same. So we had nearly 66 posters presented under science and engineering category. Sir, please. So we had nearly 66 posters presented under science and engineering category. We had nearly 36 posters in sciences and 30 posters in engineering. And we have several prizes sponsored from Wiley and RSE. And I would request Dr. Rajesh and Dr. Khushbu to please also join us with the prize distribution. And I would request my colleague, Dr. Ravi Raj, to announce the prizes. But before that, I would also thank the poster evaluation committee for taking out time and going through all the posters and helping us in the evaluation process. So I would request Dr. Ravi to quickly announce the prizes and also request Professor Sandeep Verma to give away the prizes along with the other dignitaries.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ritu. So it gives me immense pleasure to announce the Best Poster Award winners for this conference. So first, I would like to announce the Best Poster Awards, which are sponsored by Royal Society of Chemistry. The first winner is, the poster number is P63, Chandar Veer from IIT Jodhpur. Chandar Veer from IIT Jodhpur, P63. Yeah. The second winner, Ghanshyam Mali from IIT Jodhpur, poster number is P20.
They are not there, anyone else can do.
And the third winner is Abhishek Mishra, P19 from IIT Jodhpur. If you're around, please come on to the dais. The fourth winner is Charu Upadhyay from Miranda House. The poster number is P29. Charu Upadhyay from Miranda House. The poster number is P21. The fifth winner is Mr. Sumit Kumar from Miranda House. Poster number is P28. The sixth winner, Nabnita Mukherjee from IIT Jodhpur. The poster number is P37. The next one is Radhika Sharma from IIS Jaipur. The poster number is P44. Radhika Sharma from IIS Jaipur. The poster number is P44. Please. Yeah. Yeah. So if there are any, any of the friends who are in the audience, you can please come and, take the certification and on their behalf. And the last one is Swati Dhamija from Amity University. The poster number is P14. So now I'll be announcing the poster winners, which are sponsored by Wiley. The first winner is Surabhi Bhatt from Central University of Rajasthan. The poster number is P11. The second winner is Meenakshi Bansal from Hansraj College. The poster number is P29. And the third winner is Shakshi Bharadwaj from Hansraj College, P26. The fourth winner is Rituraj Lakshkar from Central University of Rajasthan. The poster number is P16. The fifth winner is Anamika Yadav. The poster number is P4 from CSIR CDRI Lucknow. The sixth winner is Chandani Mathur from IIS Jaipur. The poster number is P35. The seventh winner is Deepika Sahil. The poster number is P65. And the eighth winner is Misbah Majood from Amity University. The poster number is P57. So hearty congratulations to all the poster winners, and on behalf of the organizing committee, we thank Royal Society of Chemistry and Wiley for their sponsorship. Thank you, and over to you, Dr. Ritu.
I now request Professor Sandeep Verma to please make the concluding remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ritu, for this great meeting. I think all of us agree that this has been a very pleasant experience from the standpoint of organization, from the standpoint of conceptualization of this very important theme that we all witnessed, and great lectures, great science that we heard, and motivation that we all derived from this 1.5-day workshop. As the curtains draw to an end, I think we should not forget about what we discussed in this meeting as we step out of IIT Jodhpur. The fight continues, the urge to do better continues, and we are in sync in terms of what is expected of departments, what is expected of DST, SERB, and the Ministry of Science and Technology, if I may add that way, as well as what can be done in real time, so that the effect, so that the benefits accrued for our young researchers, established researchers equally. That can be visible, or that is visible on the ground, and we can make sure that in coming year, in coming decade, we will have the kind of impact that we all wish for in terms of having more number of women represented, not only in research arena. I think we also heard some speakers talk about how, and Ale, when she gave this lecture, that how when you rise up the pyramid, we continue to lose women leadership in India as well as abroad. So when we look inward, we are always worried about that we are not doing so well. But when we heard Ale, I think the problem is at the moment universal, and everybody is trying to grapple, not just with women, but other disadvantaged groups. She talked about so many disabilities, race, and so on and so forth. So I think inequalities at all levels are being realized, are being addressed, as well as people are aware of the fact that better times are expected from us. So such meetings, although they give us a nice interlude to our daily activities, but they also give us a good message. And I'm so very thankful to Director IIT Jodhpur, Professor Chaudhary, for allowing us this platform within this institution to create 1.5 day of synergy between all of us. Dr. Ritu for coordinating, exceedingly well whatever we discussed last year in Jaipur. I think she has executed marvelously. So she deserves a big hand, Ritu. Thanks are also due to our sponsors, Royal Society of Chemistry, the whole team, and I am also part of Royal Society of Chemistry, Rajesh. So I'm not counting myself out. Wiley, Kushbu is here, so thank you so very much for sponsoring these poster prizes, and all of us who took time to come all the way to Jodhpur and making this event, which is partly sponsored by SCRB, a grand success. So once again, I urge and reiterate, as we step out of this institution today, we will not forget what we were here for. And we hope to see each other very soon, because it is our plan. It is SERB's plan to hold such town halls, such meetings in all parts of the country. We are going to have one in Himachal Pradesh, one in Guwahati, and many more are being talked to. I mean, you need to have volunteers who could organize such meetings, so it takes a lot of time. So I wish some of you would bring us the right suggestions so that we can bring these meetings around. Once again, all students, thank you so very much for your posters. I could see few of them. I was running office by the side, so if I was not able to see your poster, my apologies. But we hope to see each other again. Thank you so much. Have a great day and a safe flight back home. Thanks a lot.
So it's my pleasure and duty to also, as a convener, say a word of thanks. On behalf of organizing committee and director, IIT Jodhpur, I wish to convey thanks to Professor Sandeep Verma for the incredible support in organizing this event. He conceived the idea of organizing this program aimed towards celebrating women in science and also providing a pathway for growing further, and gave me this opportunity to take this initiative at IIT Jodhpur. A very hearty thanks to you, sir. It is an SERB initiative, and I hope it will become a flagship event for empowering science and technology with women, and we will have many such events organized in future also. I also wish to thank a very special thanks to Dr. Arvind Chaudhary from SERB for guiding and supporting us at every stage of organizing this event. Thank you, Dr. Chaudhary. We also wish to thank invited guests, Professor Anil Mishra, DRDO in Mass, Professor Alok Dhawan, Professor Chandrima Saha, Professor Tanushri Dasgupta, for taking out their time and joining us for the event online and also offline. We thank them for sharing their perspectives on women in science. They introduced us the roadmap for increasing women participation, and I hope many of us will benefit from the enlightening talks. Thank you all. I also thank our dignitaries, invited guests from academia and from industry for taking out time to be a part of this event and delivering excellent talks. I also thank all the chairs of the session for chairing the sessions and keeping up with time. I also thank Dr. Ajit Sharma, Dr. Rajesh, Dr. Shweta, Dr. LA from RSC for becoming a part of this event and supporting in such a big way. The session on Town Hall on challenges for women and the journey of women entrepreneurs added a lot of value to our theme by bringing out the issues, problems, and also ways to celebrate achievement of women in science. I also thank all the students and faculty members who particularly registered for the event and committed their time and came all the way from different institutes and participated enthusiastically in this event. A big clap to all of you. I hope you enjoyed the program, and we will have many things to carry forward, and it will be a small step towards inspiring many of you to take up leadership roles in future. Before I move forward, I also need to thank Professor Shurajit Ghosh, Dean R&D, for the mentorship role he has given in constantly standing behind us and helped me in making this timely organization. I also thank Office of R&D, Mr. Divedi, Mr. Narayan Dadich for all the logistic supports. I also thank our head Department of Chemistry, Dr. Manikandan, and also the support from Office of Chemistry and all the faculty members, faculty colleagues, and staff for supporting in organizing this event. I thank Deputy Director Professor S.R. Vadera for helping me with the guest house arrangements for student volunteers and participants. I also thank Dr. Shruti Dhara for chairing all the technical sessions of this event. I thank organizing committee members, Dr. Ravi Raj, for constantly helping us with the travel arrangements and also the poster sessions, and also all the poster committee members and many other organizing committee members, Dr. Pranay Ranjan, Dr. Shobna Singh, Dr. Srijan, Dr. Shruti, Dr. Pragati, Dr. Jaida, Dr. Samanvita, Dr. Ananya, and many more for helping me in organizing this event. If by chance I miss out any name, I apologize for the same. I have to also thank all the people behind the logistics, Mr. Ganpat for coordinating Office of OIE, Professor in charge, Professor Amitav Patra, and his office staff to provide complete support. I also thank Mr. Sham, Mr. Ram Singh Ratnu for designing and website updates. I thank all the various offices for facilitating the arrangements. Thank you all. And at the last, I would like to thank all the student volunteers who worked tirelessly and worked behind the scene and could not even attend some of the lectures. And I now request all the student volunteers to quickly come on the stage for a clap for all of them. Come in the front row. So this is the time to say goodbye and thank you all for joining us today. And I hope this event was fun and enjoyable, and also a lot of good memories for all of you to take away from this event, and hope this will continue in future as well. Thank you all for joining today, and wish you all safe travel. Thank you. And for just one last announcement for the registered participants, there is